Parades of workers have deep roots in America's history, both to celebrate labor and to assert workers' rightful place in society. On September 5th, 1882, workers in New York City, drawing on the traditions of labor picnics, parades, and picket lines, held a parade and celebration that is now considered the nation's first official Labor Day. Parades of workers have deep roots in America's history, both to celebrate labor and to assert workers' rightful place in society. On September 5th, 1882, workers in New York City, drawing on the traditions of labor picnics, parades, and picket lines, held a parade and celebration that is now considered the nation's first official Labor Day. By the 1880s, America's industrial workers, men, women, and children, were laboring 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, frequently in unsafe conditions for starvation wages. In New York and other large cities, many workers lived in overcrowded, unsanitary tenements, where apartments consisted of one or two small rooms in which families lived out every aspect of daily life. Clotheslines strung across streets and alleys, filled with family laundry, were a constant feature of tenement life. Child labor was a serious concern for working class families who wanted their children to have an education but couldn't afford schooling and needed their children's income for family survival. Many young boys and girls labored in factories and sweatshops, while others, like these newsboys, worked on the streets. Many women, especially those with small children, earned their living at home, working in tenement industries for shockingly low piece rates. Many children, some extremely young, labored long hours beside their mothers, as did these children who were making paper flowers. By 1880, many of America's workers were enmeshed in a system that exploited their labor, their time, and their health. Yet their unions were growing and gave them pride in their work and hope for the future. In January 1882, the Knights of Labor and the Tailors Union of New York City came together to establish a citywide organization known as the Central Labor Union. They called for fair wages, safe working conditions, the 8-hour day, and an end to child labor. On September 5th of that year, the Central Labor Union held what we now regard as the first Labor Day parade, in order to show the strength and esprit de corps of the trade and labor organizations. Conservative newspapers like the New York Tribune described the parade as subversive, but the labor-friendly New York Sun devoted several columns to an enthusiastic description of events. Well over 10,000 workers sacrificed a day's pay to participate. Most union locals were led by a band or drum corps. A military band escorted 400 jewelers. Another band led 60 decorative masons dressed in yellow aprons. As the marchers passed along Canal Street, hundreds of seamstresses hung out the windows of their factories, cheering the procession, blowing kisses, and waving their handkerchiefs. The marchers displayed hundreds of banners, many bearing political slogans. Among the messages were these: all men are born alike and equal. 8 hours, a legal day's work. Labor built this republic, labor shall rule. Let labor unite. Children at school and not in factories. And to the workers should belong the wealth. The messages on some banners were aimed directly at the upcoming November elections. One banner read, "Vote the labor ticket, party hacks to the rear." And a weather forecast for election day said, indications November 7th, cold day for politicians. In November, labor turned out and voted Democrats into office, including Grover Cleveland as the governor of New York. The spirit of that Labor Day quickly swept across the nation, and states soon began to pass legislation to legalize the holiday. In 1894, Congress made Labor Day a national holiday to be celebrated on the first Monday of September. After World War II, with the growth of the suburbs, Labor Day gradually turned more toward backyard barbecues and long weekend getaways. But in recent years, Many towns have revived community celebrations, complete with parades of today's workers and the remembrance of those who first fought for workers' rights, fair wages, and safe working conditions, and whose sacrifices brought us the weekend. And today, as in 1882, a strong showing in Labor Day parades and celebrations continues to remind politicians of the collective power of the nation's workers, whose labor creates everything.